A few videos before I said that it's important for you as a technical engineer, as a software developer, to be focused on your personal success in the company, in a large company, no matter what is the company, instead of focusing on the business success of the company you work in. And I got a number of comments on that video, and one is interesting, and one guy is saying that this is true unless the company is really big, and he's making an example of a Facebook. And he's saying that later when you present your resume to somebody, to the future employer, then it's a big difference if you say that you work for some failed startup or you work for Facebook. He's making this statement to prove that maybe sometimes it does matter, the business success, and maybe sometimes the developer has to care about the success of the company instead of caring about personal success. And by personal success I meant the success of your personal products, like open source products. So if you work for a large company, then there are many factors which affect the success of a large enterprise, of your company, which you cannot influence anyhow. You cannot do anything with that, or almost anything with that, but you can do something with your personal stuff which you do. For example, you're developing a library, an open source library, and while working on, say, Facebook. And during a few years, while you stay with Facebook, you create that library. And if Facebook doesn't stop you from doing that, if Facebook provides you all the resources and all the time and resources and everything you need for that, and doesn't stop you, then this is a great company. No matter how successful Facebook on a large market. I'm using Facebook as an example from this question. And I do believe that still if your company is Facebook or any large company, Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, a big name, then I still think that later, when you present your resume to your future employer in a few years, or maybe in 10 years after you quit Facebook, then your personal products, like open source products, will matter much more than just a line on your resume that, yes, some time ago you spent 5 years on Facebook. I interview many programmers every week, and I do see sometimes that important names on their resumes. Some people work for Intel, some people work for Microsoft, and so on and so forth. But the more people I see, the more frequently I see those lines, and the less I pay attention to them. So for me right now, somebody coming to me with a Microsoft name on the Facebook is much less important person than somebody who is coming to me with an interesting product on GitHub which has multiple stars. This product stays together with the person, no matter when that person comes to the interview with me. The line with the Microsoft is somewhere in the past, and I don't know what were the circumstances at that time. I don't know what that person did actually in Microsoft, what the projects were there. But the product, the open source product, something which that person brings to the table right now, is right in front of me. So I can see it, I can understand, the contribution to this product, and so on and so forth. So no matter how, important, how big is the name, for me as an employer, as an interviewer, not as an employer, as an interviewer, it is still less important. And the older you are, the more time you spend on the industry, the longer your CV, the longer the list of your previous experience, the list of companies you worked before, the less important it is. What was there, like Microsoft here, Facebook there, IBM there. All it tells me that you were quite successful in passing those interviews and people were able to hire you. That's okay, it's important information. Of course, it's not so easy to be hired by Facebook and then Microsoft and then IBM. Of course, you need to be a good engineer, but still, for me, the biggest question is what exactly you managed to create. And if you didn't manage to create anything, or there's a little contribution to open source, because the only thing I can see is open source. Microsoft will not allow you to bring me, your future employer, the code you developed there. It's all private and protected. But the open source is something you can bring to the table. So I think the older you become, the longer your career, the less important it is where you stayed and what did you do there. The more important is what you personally managed to create, what code you managed to write, and how many people actually managed to appreciate your results, and how many people are in your community of users, and so on. So this is my answer to your question. So Facebook or no Facebook, we in your future Not gonna care much about that. So think about how much you have with you, with your products, in your hands, when you work in any large company. Work for yourself, first of all, then for the company. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.